Donald Trump's name is all over the Epstein files. Donald Trump was told about it in May during a briefing with the Department of Justice. An explosive exclusive by the Wall Street Journal after they were sued by Donald Trump. The Wall Street Journal is not backing down. Their article, Justice Department told Trump in May that his name is among many in the Epstein files. That's not a shocker, considering Donald Trump was like best friends with Epstein. And based on the documents that have already been released, Donald Trump's names are all over them in a very ghoulish fashion. But Donald Trump was asked back on July 15th, wasn't he, whether or not his Department of Justice briefed him and told him that he was in the files. And shocker, Donald Trump lied. Reminder, here's what went down when Donald Trump was asked that question on July 15th. Let's play it.
The Attorney General briefed you on the DOJ and FBI review, the findings of that review. The Attorney General briefed you on that.
What? On the
DOJ and FBI
on what?
review.
On what subject?
Epstein.
Okay.
On Epstein, of the review of the files. Attorney General Pam Bondi.
A very quick briefing.
Did she tell you, what did she tell you about the review? And specifically, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No. She's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well. And it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
On Texas, how many more seats do you want the Republicans?
There were so many tells. He's like the worst poker player also. If you watched his face, and did you see what Caroline Levitt was doing there also as she was looking at him? And he was like, it's like Russia. It's a hoax. And Bondi can release only what's credible. In other words, don't release anything that has my name on it. Well, that video takes on new context today. And today Donald Trump sent his former criminal defense lawyer, Todd Blanche, to go to Tallahassee, Florida to meet with Ghislaine Maxwell. Todd Blanche is now the number 2 at the Justice Department. So yes, Trump appointed his criminal defense attorney in the case where he was convicted on 34 felony counts to become the number 2 at the DOJ. And Todd Blanche is now meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell today, with Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer, a guy by the name of David Marcus. Now, Marcus and Todd Blanche are very, very close friends. They've appeared together on the podcast of Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer. These are really good friends, and they're the one who are going to be having this secret meeting earlier today that's taking place at the federal courthouse in Tallahassee, Florida, with Ghislaine and Ghislaine's lawyer. How close are they, might you ask? Well, we have tape about that. Here they are together on the podcast of Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer. Doesn't look like a good podcast. Play it.
Okay, I want to welcome Todd Blanche to For the Defense. Everybody knows who Todd is, and he's the first guest on For the Defense to appear twice. So welcome to the show, Todd.
That is an honor. Thank you very much, David. I really appreciate it.
So, you were a federal prosecutor. I'm sure you never could have imagined this when you were first starting out as an assistant United States attorney. How did you get here, Todd? How did you end up representing Donald Trump and being in trial in the first of its kind case?
So those were the two people meeting together. And let me just tell you what David Oscar Marcus told the Wall Street Journal in that article. It was kind of buried in that article, the one about how the Justice Department told Trump in May that his name is among the many in the Epstein files. One of Maxwell's lawyers, David Oscar Marcus, confirmed the discussions with Todd Blanche and said, quote, "We are grateful to President Trump for his commitment to uncovering the truth in this case. Maxwell has been seeking to have her conviction overturned, contending she did not receive a fair trial. Also, the House of Representatives this week subpoenaed Ghislaine Maxwell to have her deposition taken in the Tallahassee prison where she's serving over 20 years for sex trafficking. And that's why Trump was like, hey, criminal defense lawyer, who's now the number 2 at the DOJ, speak to her quickly. So What is David Oscar Marcus, Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer, saying about the deposition of Ghislaine that's been noticed in August? He said the following to CNN. Well, as for the congressional subpoena to her, Ghislaine Maxwell is just going to take it one step at a time. She looks forward to her meeting with the Justice Department, and that discussion will help inform how she proceeds. Let's bring in Brett and Jordy, because that right there, the cover-up, is not worse than the underlying acts that Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell did, the most heinous and vile acts. But the cover-up right now is shaping up to be one of these things where we're seeing elite cabals in front of our eyes cover up for sex trafficking rings and to cover up for the Epstein files we're seeing with Trump, and to cover this up over and over and over again. It seems, it appears. Right.
It appears that this is what QAnon was warning everybody about, right? This is the exact thing that this whole MAGA movement was based upon. Now they are the protectors of these criminals. They are now engaged in a conspiracy, not a conspiracy theory, but a concerted conspiracy together in order to cover up the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein, to cover up Donald Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, to cover up the crimes of Ghislaine Maxwell, because Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, these are best friends that go way back. You know what the bombshell story would have been from the Wall Street Journal if it said Donald Trump's name not in the Epstein files? I would have been like, holy crap, that's a shocker, because it certainly is no shocker that Trump's name appears in these files, as you know from our reporting, and plus, as you know from the other files that have already been released that we have discussed on this show, whether we're talking about the flight logs, the court depositions, the messages left to Epstein, the little black book of Epstein. Donald Trump is all over all of that stuff. And the more we learn, the more of that drip, the more we learn just how close Epstein and Trump and Maxwell were. And so it's no surprise that the attorneys are close as well. And I think you have to remember that Blanche, being the deputy attorney general, he was Donald Trump's personal criminal attorney. And the fact that he is such good friends with Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney. And when all this is breaking out right now, when Ghislaine Maxwell finally sees her moment, because in many ways, Donald Trump is giving her a golden ticket to get a retrial or get out of prison, what happens? Donald Trump sends his attorney, his former criminal attorney, to go over and meet up with his buddy in order to talk to Ghislaine Maxwell to do whatever the heck it is that they are doing. I want everybody to make no mistake here that the Trump regime and the Republican Party are currently engaged in what could be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, cover-up scandals in American history. And it is one that ties Donald Trump directly to the world's most infamous pedophile and child sex trafficker. The fact that they are trying to bury this, the fact that they are trying to distract people with the Obama stuff, it is absolutely a disgrace. And anybody who goes along with this is implicated in it. Anybody who goes along with this should be absolutely ashamed of the crimes that they are covering up, of the leeway that they are giving to people like Epstein and to people like Ghislaine Maxwell, all to try to protect Donald Trump. Shame on them. These are certainly not the acts of innocent people that we are seeing. Anyway, it's good to be here, brother. It's good to be here, Ben. Good to be here, Jordy. Good to be here, Midas Mighty. I want to remind everybody, we've got a lot of people watching right now. Make sure to go and add, if you're watching this on YouTube, add the MeidasTouch Podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you've already done that, please go ahead and leave a 5-star review. It really helps. And you know, we got to check in with younger brother Jordy. What's up, Jay?
I am excited to get going tonight. Benji, great to have you back on the show, big bro. We missed you Monday night, Tuesday morning, so it's great to have you here. And I just want to say this before I toss it back to you, Ben. You know, for all the folks that claim that Donald Trump is this great messenger, this great marketer, you know, that is such a straw man argument to me. He is the worst messenger. He's the single worst marketer. This was a guy that was born on third base, halfway between third base and home plate, and the dude cannot save himself from this. Absolutely, there's nothing he can say or do at this moment where people will not stop looking at his connection to Epstein. It's just the fact of the matter, because every time now he tries to distance himself, hey, Obama, Autopen, and people are not having it. Even his own base is so sick of being gaslit right now that even they're turning on him. And maybe we'll get to, again, his approval ratings just tanking once again today. And so it's all stemming from this notion, that he and Jeffrey Epstein were best buds. And that Donald Trump is trying to just flat out gaslight the American people, his own supporters, into thinking that they had nothing, that there's nothing there, that there's no there. But as we all know, there's something big there. And all eyes are watching, Ben. All eyes are watching.
According to the new Gallup poll, you mentioned it, Jordy, so let me just bring you those numbers. Donald Trump's overall approval right now is about 37% on immigration. That was supposed to be Donald Trump's issue. Donald Trump's approval is 38%. On the economy, wasn't that supposed to be his issue as well? 37%. On trade, wasn't he supposed to be like the expert with tariffs? Nope, 36%. What about the federal budget? His marquee legislation, 29%. What about independence? The fastest growing political bloc, the largest political bloc in America, Donald Trump's approval is 29%. And to me, when we look at this Epstein cover-up, it highlights all of the other cover-ups that are taking place as well. And if it helps open people's eyes to all of those other things, then I think that is an added addition that we need to talk about. We should talk about it on its own, because the idea of covering up for a sex trafficking ring that we see in such plain view needs to be called out. Thinking about the hundreds of underage girls who are victims of this, we need to call this out. It is real that Jeffrey Epstein did this. It is real that Ghislaine Maxwell did this. It is real that the FBI and the DOJ have 300 gigabytes that will reveal the names of other people who were involved in it. It is real that Donald Trump's name, we know, is in those files in some capacity at least several times. It is real that based on the documents that have already been released, it is ghoulish and ghastly, the type of stuff that Donald Trump was mentioned, his connections with Jeffrey Epstein. It wasn't just like, oh, he flew on the plane once. And I'm not just talking about, oh, he flew on the plane 7 times, or that Epstein was on Donald Trump's plane with girls of indeterminate ages, or that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein would do parties together where they'd bring in 30 girls of indeterminate age to party. I put that at Mar-a-Lago, as it was said by people who were there at the time. And they were told it was just going to be VIPs who were going to be there, who were going to help these girls with their modeling careers. But they'd show up and it would just be Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not just talking about that. I'm not just talking about Donald Trump in 2002 saying Epstein is a great guy who likes beautiful women on the younger side, a direct quote from Donald Trump. And I'm not just talking about the fact that Donald Trump threw beauty pageants for girls who were 14 years old, who then took yacht trips, and men old enough to be their grandparents were grinding on them, and that Donald Trump did these events with people like John Casablanca, who sexually assaulted underage 15-year-old girls and cheated on their wives to be with 15-year-old girls and married a 17-year-old. I'm not just talking about that. I'm also talking about the fact that Mar-a-Lago was the situs, a location where an underage girl, Virginia Giuffre, was sex trafficked. From freaking Mar-a-Lago is where it went down. She was homeless. She got a job as a towel girl in the Mar-a-Lago spa, where Ghislaine Maxwell walked over to the spa at Mar-a-Lago with this towel girl who was literally living on the streets, and said, oh, you like spas? You like massages? You want to meet this guy named Jeffrey Epstein? You can travel the world and make all of this money. She was recruited and then sex trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein from Mar-a-Lago. Now, Donald Trump could say, well, with all of that out there, I didn't know any of this at all. Oh, you didn't know any of this at all? Or you can say, oh, you know that Wall Street Journal article about where I said, oh, enigmas never age to Jeffrey Epstein? Ghislaine Maxwell put this book together. Our secret stays secret. But I would never use language like that, even though we've heard Donald Trump say the word enigma multiple times. We've saw Donald Trump doodle. I don't write pictures. Donald, yes, you do. Well, guess what? we'll be able to find that book. You know why? Because the lawyer for the victims says we know where that book is located. You went on Lawrence O'Donnell last night, and he said that book is in the possession of the estate of Jeffrey Epstein, and the estate's like a neutral third-party lawyer who basically takes over the estate to be able to kind of settle all of the claims based on the money that's there. Let's just listen to what he has to say in his own words. This is the victim's lawyer. Here, play this clip.
I want to go to that book because with your familiarity with evidence against Jeffrey Epstein, which you've collected a lot of through the discovery process, what do you know specifically about that book? Do you know that the estate, the relatives of Jeffrey Epstein, in effect through their lawyers, are in possession of that birthday book?
Yes, I know that the executors of the estate are in possession of that book. And I think that after they turn it over, it should probably be set in the Smithsonian as an artifact at this point in time. It's going to go down in history so that the world can see this book, and they'll know who were Jeffrey Epstein's best friends at the time, what letters did his family write to him, what other pictures are in there, things of that nature. Redact victim names, release the book, and move on. So that's it. Yes, the executors have it.
So you've just identified, not just for the news media, but obviously for House representatives who are now in a mood to subpoena, and also Todd Blanche and the Trump Justice Department, who suddenly are getting curious about investigating this. You've now told them exactly, according to your knowledge, where the birthday book is, who is in possession of that book. And all the House representatives would have to do tomorrow is write up a subpoena for that book, and you believe that it would be the lawyers involved would comply with that subpoena?
I know the executors' lawyers. I worked with them for years. They're good people. They're good lawyers. They would comply with the subpoena immediately. It's something that we could solve this problem so quickly if people actually want to solve problems.
So Trump and MAGA Republicans, don't you dare use the victims who you're further victimizing right now is the reason why you're not releasing the files. That was the victim's lawyer who said, redact the victims' names, release the files, right? And so surely the MAGA Republicans would not want to block this. Surely they'd want to release these files and have maximum transparency. Oh, what happened in the Senate earlier today where one of Donald Trump's cover-up protectors, Mark Wayne Mullen, creepy dude, goes to the Senate floor and blocks the motion by Democratic Senator Gallegos from Arizona to release the files. The good news is that the Democrats did an incredible maneuver yesterday. Democratic Congresswoman Lee, when the MAGA Republicans weren't expecting it, in an unrelated oversight subcommittee, she got them. She realized there was enough Republicans who had called for the release of these files. So in an unrelated matter, she attached an amendment to release the files, and they tried to recess to block it, but they were already in session and there was nothing they can do. So now there was an 8-2 vote to release the Epstein files. And the way when the Republicans got caught off guard, they're like, and release all references to the Clintons and Bidens. And Democrats were like, sure, there's nothing there. Sure, do it. If it is there about the Clintons, absolutely release it. All good. Bill Clinton should be held accountable too if he was involved, okay? Nothing about the Bidens, but do whatever you got to do. So the Republicans were caught off guard there. But here's what Senator Mark Wayne Mullen had to say. Here, play this clip.
I don't know, 8 years? I'm sure this would be handled just like any other thing that they've tried to go after, like the baseless impeachments or the baseless special counsels or the unbelievable amount of charges they've tried to file against the president. I'm sure this would be handled the exact same way. What we're simply wanting to do here is give them cover. So if my colleague from Arizona actually wants transparency, then he would drop his objection to my resolution.
Let's call in Brett and Jordy. We just want to give him cover. Brett, they just said we don't want to give him cover, Brett.
It's quite the admission. And when you see them up there just fighting this stuff so much, and when you see them comparing it to things that everybody knows are very legitimate, like when they're like, oh, this is like the same, this is a hoax, just like the hoax impeachments. You mean after Donald Trump led an insurrection against the United States? Because that happened. And, you know, you're basically saying that everything we think happened with Trump and Epstein happened. And then you're admitting that you are trying to cover for him. So you're actually exposing yourself. You made a good point before, Ben. I always see in our mentions on social media and stuff, when the MAGA people go in, they're like, be careful what you wish for. It's going to expose Clinton. I'm like, I don't give a fuck who's it. Like, why do you think I care? I'm not out to protect anybody who may be implicated in criminal activity. You are. And that is weird to me. Let's let it all out and let's see where the chips may land. Donald Trump was the one who's been pushing for this. He made it the basis of his campaign. I don't know why, given that he is so close to Jeffrey Epstein. I guess it was a diversion tactic. But at this point, he is the dog that caught the car, as are the Republican Party. And now they are tasked with defending this predator, and when I say predator, I mean Donald Trump, I mean Jeffrey Epstein, I mean Ghislaine Maxwell, and they should have to pay the price for that. The American people should know exactly what they are doing here, and I think it's very interesting when we see the Wall Street Journal coming forward with this other story about Donald Trump's name being all over the Epstein files. It shows you that they are not backing down. They obviously know that this book actually exists. They know that it is real. They know that Donald Trump signed it. By the way, Bill Clinton has a note in there also. That doesn't bother me. You know, let's let it all come out. Let's see that note also. You know, the reason why the Republicans are not jumping on that fact, because they knows that it authenticates Donald Trump's note that's in that is in that document. So you see the Republicans right now running a protection racket for pedophiles and for sex traffickers, which is weird and kind of criminal, I'm going to say. And then you see the Wall Street Journal, a Rupert Murdoch property of all things, being the one to actually have very good journalism here and not backing down. The weird dichotomy that we're seeing right now is you have the Wall Street Journal, a Murdoch property, doing actually a great job on this story and butting up against Trump. Then you have Fox News, another Murdoch property, completely covering for Donald Trump. They don't even mention the Epstein thing. If they do, it's one or two, quick mentions in passing, but they're talking all day about Obama, auto pen, Hunter Biden. They're trying to distract their viewers. So it is this interesting dynamic right now of these Murdoch properties almost at war with each other, with some of them protecting this sex trafficking racket and others of them going after the sex trafficking racket. And you have Donald Trump in the middle of all this.
Well, look, exactly, Brett. We don't view this as a political thing. Like that blows MAGA's mind. Like, we don't give a damn. This isn't a Republican or Democrat issue. This should just be a human level issue of, hey, let's not protect pedophiles. Y'all agree? Raise your hand. And the goofy responses I've been seeing too, Brett, from MAGA is, oh, look at these guys. They're just trying to go after Trump. Now they're making Epstein a priority. We've been talking about it for 5 years, shouting it from the mountaintops. Why? Literally. Because we think the story deserves real answers. And so just to see these MAGA politicians deflecting, literally saying we're running cover for the guy. You are pathetic, y'all. Like, that is so despicable and gross and just the worst of government, because you could tell these folks, these MAGA politicians, they don't give a damn about their constituents. They pretend to be the pro-life party, but what happens when there's life, when then the people are living? They don't want to protect them. They don't. It's absolutely despicable. They're all getting exposed for this level of vile disgustingness that has just so engrossed the Republican Party that it's going to be impossible literally for any one of these folks to distance themselves from it. Because look, we've said it before, if you don't pledge 1000% allegiance to dear leader Donald Trump, you're not a Republican in 25. You're just not. And so many of these politicians, that's all they care about is, I don't want the mean tweet against me. So how can I, quote unquote, run cover for the guy, Ben?
Well, I had an emergency root canal procedure on Monday that I want to flag for everybody right now. A very abrupt transition. So you could feel the abrupt transition from my mouth feeling fine to needing this root canal. On Sunday, it got really bad in the middle of the night and I couldn't sleep. And then had the procedure on Monday morning. So Brett and Jordy filled in and did a fantastic job on the last episode. I was so proud of them. I wanted to hold the Patreon meeting with all of our Patreon members today. We're going to move that to Monday as a result of the procedure I had earlier this week. I'm fine. I had the root canal. It was not the greatest day ever, but I feel good right now. And it was great to see Brett and Jordy do, and it was one of my favorite episodes I had actually seen. So go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch. And then next Monday, we will hold the meeting. As soon as that show ends, we'll go right and you could ask us any questions. There will be no questions off limits there. A reminder to subscribe to our YouTube channel, a reminder to subscribe to our Substack, a reminder if you can become a member of our YouTube channel, it goes a long way to help as well. And you can gift memberships to as many people as you want, and that helps grow this independent media platform. Let's take our first quick break of the show. We've got a lot of show when we come back.
Okay, you know you need to protect your skin from the sun, but what if you could protect it from things like collagen loss and inflammation, and even repair some of the damage you did when you were younger? The good news is you can, something I learned from my scientist friends at OneSkin. I've been using their whole line of mineral SPFs for the face, body, and lips, and I'm honestly impressed. Not only do they protect against UV damage now, they work at the cellular level to help reverse the sun damage I racked up in my teens and 20s. My skin feels smoother, looks more even, and I've noticed age spots and fine lines starting to fade. The face SPF is lightweight and breathable, available in tinted or untinted. The body SPF is water resistant and helps prevent collagen loss. And the lip SPF, it hydrates instantly and is scientifically proven to keep lips healthy, bouncy, and firm. It's all made with mineral non-nano zinc oxide, vitamin C, and the powerful OS1 peptide. So you're getting protection, nourishment, and repair in one step. It's advanced sun care that performs like skincare. OneSkin is the world's first skin longevity company. By focusing on the cellular aspects of aging, OneSkin keeps your skin looking and acting younger for longer. For a limited time, you can try OneSkin with 15% off using code Meidas at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code Meidas, M-E-I-D-A-S. After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you.
Let me tell you, if there's a surefire way to wake up feeling fresh after drinks with friends, it's with pre-alcohol. Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Now here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. Now it's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night, drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Now, every time I've had pre-alcohol before drinks, I notice a difference the next day. Now, even after a night out, I can confidently plan on just waking up and feeling my best the next day without worrying. Look, I won't lie, I was a bit on the fence about pre-alcohol initially, but then while hanging out with some friends at our bar, I gave it a shot, and believe me, it's the real deal. So I first gave pre-alcohol a try when I was at a wedding. I drank it before my first espresso martini, and you wouldn't believe how on top of my game I felt the next morning. Now, summer's here, which means more opportunities to celebrate the warm weather. Before that backyard barbecue brew, or your glass of Pinot watching the sunset at a beach, or a cocktail by the campfire, don't forget your Z-Biotics pre-alcohol. Drink one before drinking and wake up feeling great and ready to take on the next day and all that summer has to offer. Go to zbiotics.com/Meidas to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Meidas at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/Meidas and use the code Meidas at checkout for 15% off. Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors, links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Love me some OneSkin, love me some ZBiotics. It's some really great stuff. Definitely check it out. Benji, before I toss it back to you, I got to give you some props because I just want all of our listeners and viewers to know. So Ben gets the root canal Monday night. Then later that night, nah. Is he going to rest? Absolutely not. Is he just going to call it a night and go to bed? Literally, I think it was 45 minutes after surgery, the kid's back in the seat doing hot takes because that's what the job demands. And you know what, Ben? The Meidas Mighty wouldn't have it any other way. So we're proud of you and we're grateful for everything you bring, big bro.
I would have done the live show, except my mouth was so numb that I literally couldn't speak. So as soon as I was able to speak again, I did the hot takes, but that was the main issue preventing the live. Okay, let me show you all a video that we posted on the MeidasTouch social media accounts. It existed before, it was out there, but no one really pointed it out of how significant it is the way that we did. And it was Jeffrey Epstein's deposition where Epstein is asked about Donald Trump and his friendship with Donald Trump and his other things with Donald Trump. You'll notice that Epstein is able to answer part of the question. So it's not like he's invoking the Fifth Amendment regarding all of the questions he's asking, but notice the one where he does invoke his Fifth Amendment and other amendments against self-incrimination. Let's play it.
Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?
What do you mean by personal relationships?
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
Now notice how he asked for kind of a more detailed understanding of the first question. Like, what do you mean like a relationship? Like, what does it mean? But when he was asked a fairly broad question, had you ever been with Donald Trump with a group of girls under the age of 18? Immediately, he went to invoking his rights against self-incrimination. I mean, like, you know, did they ever go to a restaurant together where there could have been a host? No. The immediate thing he thought, me, with him, Donald Trump, and a group of underage girls was, I need to invoke my right against self-incrimination there. And again, we know some of the stories that are out there that are undisputed. We don't know the age of the girls. We don't. But we do know that Donald Trump and Epstein held at least one, there may have been more, party at Mar-a-Lago where they view, I shouldn't call it a party because they viewed it as that. The girls, again, of indeterminate age, I don't know, but they were the types of people who went to the pageants, and we know the pageants were anywhere from kind of 14 to 28. So, but they were told they were showing up for a meeting with VIPs who could help them in the modeling agency, but they show up and it's just Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein there, and that's according to the person who ran the kind of model scouting group that brought those girls. We don't know their age. We don't know their ages, but that was one such interaction. We do know Virginia Giuffre was 17 years old when she was the towel girl at Mar-a-Lago. And we do know, because the MeidasTouch unearthed the 1991 Look of the Year pageant that Donald Trump held, that a lot of these girls at the parties, or whatever you want to call them, that Donald Trump threw, were underage. I mean, they look like they are underage, and they look like little girls. So I wanted to flag that deposition right there. Now, Pam Bondi, Donald Trump's attorney general, yesterday was supposed to speak at a human sex trafficking convention led by a group called CPAC, which they call themselves the Conservative Political Action Committee or Conference or whatever. By the way, they're led by a guy who was accused of sexual assault by a Republican staffer, and I believe they reached a settlement. That guy, Schlapp, is the guy's name, and the allegations against him by an adult male, but they were pretty disgusting allegations, that were out there.
I got to say, having a sex trafficking convention in light of everything, kind of gives the meaning to whatever this convention is about. Kind of gives a new meaning, is all I'm saying.
That is these are predators. And this is what predators do. And they do it on lots of issues also outside of just like sex, right? I mean, these are people with their own demons and ghoulish criminality and whatever else they're up to, you know, whether it's civil cases or whatever. But they weaponize an issue that they know pulls at people's heartstrings, like sex trafficking, to divide the country and make it political, or pull people in, independents, people who don't care about politics, but people who care about the children, because it's an issue that they go, oh my God, you're telling me there's a cabal out there, and oh my gosh. You know, and Democrats aren't out there normally talking. Democrats are like, well, we need to have a 5-point plan and a 6.7 plan, and we got to focus on this and then subsection 32323. And the Republicans are out there doing that. Another issue we'll talk about later in the show that Republicans do this to, in the light of the Columbia University settlement, anti-Semitism, right? A real serious issue, anti-Semitism, but they weaponize it as a way to attack free speech, to attack universities, and say, oh, you just, you know, it's like McCarthyism on steroids. Oh, you are the way they did. You're a communist. You're anti-Semitic. You're anti-Semitic. And then you're a sex trafficker. You're a sex trafficker. And they weaponize that when their real agenda is to have a fascist regime, this Trump regime, do the types of things we've seen in authoritarian fascist regimes that exist as well. Anyway, the point I was making is Pam Bondi was supposed to speak at this thing when she's covering up for Epstein right now. So what did she do? Do you think she showed up? Let's see what happens when she's about to, or she's supposed to speak. Here's what takes place. Let's play it.
You have some news from the Attorney General's office.
I do. Thank you very much. And thank you all for being here with us today and having me. I do have a note from the Attorney General, from Attorney General Pam Bondi, that I wanted to share, which is the following. I'm sorry to miss all of my CPAC friends today, especially Matt and Mercy Schlapp, Senator Blackburn, and the wonderful team at the Tim Tebow Foundation. Unfortunately, I am recovering from a recently torn cornea, which is preventing me from being with you. I truly wish I was able to join you and support all of the work being done on this critical issue.
And they're just so phony baloney, all these people. By the way, even that guy's voice, like using a somber tone, and that, like, you know, we have difficult news to report. We've got word from the attorney. Just shut up. Like, you phony person, y'all are covering up the Republicans. That y'all are covering up for the Epstein files right now. And this is how they weaponize it. They're holding a conference on sex trafficking and how they're the ones saving. Quite the freaking contrary. Right here. Oh, then what's their other one, Brett, that they're doing? The other part of it's like it's such an obvious anatomy of Donald Trump like distraction. It's like, okay, well, how do we distract? Well, let's have my own criminal defense lawyer, who's the number 2 at the DOJ, meet with Ghislaine Maxwell. Then let's just request the grand jury testimony from the Epstein case, which we know is never going to be released. And it's only a small amount of that's like 1% of what's the files. And then when the judge rejects it, which the judge did, because even in the Trump regime's own briefing to the judge, they cite an 11th Circuit Court of Appeals case called Pitch, which says they're not entitled to the record. They told the judge, you actually can't give it to us under 11th Circuit precedent, but we have to flag that case for you. And the judge is like, even the government concedes, I'm not allowed to give you Rule 6E material. So they go, Ghislaine meeting. Look, we're trying to do stuff. All right, we're trying to get the grand jury testimony. Let's hold a sex trafficking conference. Oh, and then where do we go when things get desperate? AutoPen's not working. Okay, let's go to Obama. And then let's say that something that I don't even understand. Obama bringing up Russia. Let's just say Russia, because that seems to work for MAGA mush brains. Russia. And then get Ted Cruz, who Donald Trump said father killed JFK, and he said his wife is like a disgusting ugly lady or something like that. We're like, well, I don't know, my wife is ugly. Okay, I guess it's ugly. Then you have Ted Cruz go out there, and Ted Cruz is like, a date that will live in infamy, December 9th, Obama Day. And I'm like, the hell are you talking, Obama Day? This is what he goes, FDR said December, a date that will live in infamy. The real date that will live in infamy is, watch this, here, play it.
And I'll tell you, this December 9th meeting, FDR famously said December 7th is a date that will live in infamy. Well, December 9th should be a day that will live in infamy, because this is a moment when senior members of our government decided to lie to the American people and to sabotage President Donald Trump, who'd just been elected by the American people.
They think you are stupid, stupido. I mean, that's real. Like Fox looks at its audience. We know from the text messages during the defamation case where they settled for whatever it was, almost $1 billion, that they're like, our audience is stupid. That's what they call their audience, stupid. All of the things that they would say that like Democrats say about Fox audience, no, it's actually Fox saying that their audience is dumb sheep. Then they go to them and serve them the stupidest stuff when it's like, you're just covering for Epstein. We know it, Brett and Jordy.
It is objectively one of the most pathetic attempts to cover up something so horrific that I've ever seen in my entire life. Objectively, just objectively watching Ted Cruz do that. I don't know how you are just not like, what a pathetic human being, what a pathetic political party, what a pathetic quote unquote news channel. It's obviously a propaganda network. But the fact that they are shoveling this bullshit at people, the irony of it all to me is that the more they do this, the more guilty they appear, the more of the cover up, comes out. And I think this has been the issue with the Republican Party for at least the past decade, probably longer, but I'll just go off kind of the Trump era. But it's the issue that we've seen, and it's really, it's an issue that has radicalized their base in such a way because they make bombastic, wild claims about Democrats, massive claims, right? Going way back in the day. Claims which they can never deliver on because they're not based in any semblance of reality. Eventually, all of these things blow up in their face every single time. It's not like, oh, well, they're batting 500 right now. No, every single one of these things crashes and burns because they are conspiracy theorists and they are peddling bullshit to their base. They are trying to feed them red meat. And so what is it that they do when these things destruct? They have to then divert their people's attention, divert their supporters' attention with the next conspiracy theory, with the next lie. So they, in order to do that, they need to then increase the severity of the lie. The lie has to be bigger than the one before. So you have this sort of mission creep happening in the Republican Party where each lie is getting more outrageous and more outrageous. So finally, now it brings us to today where their new lie, in order to cover for the sex trafficking operation of Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump's possible involvement in it and Donald Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, in order to counter something so horrific and so big, they need to come up with a bigger lie than they have ever said in the past. And so now they're reaching back to 2016 and they are accusing a former president of the United States of treason, and they are using the intelligence community with the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. They are using her and the mechanisms of government in order to send criminal referrals for President Obama to the Department of Justice, to declare that President Obama must be arrested, to be running this on loop on Fox over and over and over and over to get those MAGA mush brains that Ben was speaking about talking about something else. It is cynical. It is Russian-esque. This is how Putin operates. Frankly, I think even this would make Putin blush watching all of this take place. It is an absolute disgrace, and they are truly treating at least their followers like they are stupid. And these stories really don't get any sort of attention outside of the MAGA bubble. The MAGA bubble loves it. They are eating this up. They go, oh, Obama, Russia. Any sort of normal person with at least a half a brain cell looks at this and goes, oh, they're covering up for Epstein. And frankly, if you're participating in this scheme, if you are going along with this whole Obama thing, shame on you. Absolutely disgraceful. You are trying to cover up Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, Donald Trump's involvement, Ghislaine Maxwell. That is who you are allying yourself with, and you are smearing a former president while you are doing it with these vicious, heinous, atrocious lies. This is not something anybody is buying. Shame on them. Obviously, they're going to run into the same issues that they always run into with this one, where it's not based on any reality whatsoever. And then they're going to have to try to pivot to the next one and the next one and the next one, because they'd rather do that than look their people in the eye and tell them the truth that Donald Trump is all over the Epstein files, that they are covering it up, and they refuse to do that. They refuse to actually have the back of the people that they pretend to care for, the children, the victims, the constituents, and instead they are a cult who pledge allegiance to one person, and that's Donald Trump.
Exactly. It's just not based on any semblance of reality to it. It doesn't have the same bite to it, if you will, because Obama's not leading the country. We're going to go back to 2016 and just make up a weirdo 2016 conspiracy. What are we doing? We're going to go.
People were bored with him bringing up 2020.
We're going to go Biden on it. These guys aren't leading the country. Sorry, Donald. You are the president of the United States. I hate that you are, but you know what you also are? A former best friend of Jeffrey Epstein, a known pedophile, and you appear on this list, buddy. And that's what people focus on. That's what people want to know.
Jordy, did you see the other one too that they were pushing? So not only are they going back 2016 for that, but they're like, guys, did you know in 2016, Hillary Clinton was sick? You had to take medicine once in 2016. Wow. And then they like bring back up like clips of Hillary Clinton like coughing from 2016. It's like, y'all are just trying to go back and play the greatest hits.
Yeah.
You are so desperate that you are digging deep in your bag to get bullshit. It really shows just how pathetic they are.
I hate comparing it to this, but it's like, you know, the sitcoms back in the day when they'd hit the 100th episode or whatnot, they kind of ran out of ideas. And so they just play like the best clips from a variety of the shows from the seasons past. Yeah, the clip shows. Exactly. That's what we're doing now, Fox News. Y'all can't come up with any new material. So you know what? Let's go invent a 2016 conspiracy to get our watchers and viewers all angry about. That was almost 11 years ago. What are we doing?
Jordy, the funny thing is watching the progression of this. I mean, it's all say, I don't want to like downplay the severity of how evil this all is, but watching Fox and the Republicans in real time try to figure out what's the best way to cover up these crimes has been actually kind of fascinating. Remember the first day when this came out, like one of the big Epstein stories dropped, and it was like they hit an emergency Biden button and they just started playing like a reel of Biden struggling to speak. Like that was like
this is exactly what I'm talking about though, real quick. Is they're not these great messengers and marketers, right? They just play to people's worst, inhibitions and just ideas. And that's what angers the base, right? That's what they want to get these folks angry. So what are we going to do? We're going to get mad at the green M&M. The green M&M's not sexy anymore, Fox viewers. Everyone should be outraged.
And when it doesn't work, they move to the next one and to the next one. So you notice they're not really talking about the auto pen stuff now, right? Because that bombed. That didn't really work, right? So then they moved to this other crazy story. They moved from Joe Biden, like the debate, and then they moved to auto pen. And then they started talking about Hunter for about 30 seconds before they realized that people actually liked the way Hunter came off in that interview. And then they're like, oh shit, we're humanizing the guy. And now they have moved on to this Obama thing. It's just one distraction after the next.
I couldn't agree more with you. When we come back, I want to talk about there's like a war going on now between Thailand and Cambodia. Like no one's really talking about that, but like right at the border, like shooting missiles at each other. Like if there was a strong and normal America, we had people working at the State Department, I think situations like this would be avoided. I mean, just think about India and Pakistan, Thailand and Cambodia. I mean, a striking Iran. Donald Trump has not brought peace to Gaza in 24 hours like he promised. The situation in Ukraine's gotten worse after Donald Trump promised to bring peace there in 24 hours. You have a much more unstable world. China doing military exercises close to Australia and Japan. You've got a much more unstable world right now. Let's talk about that. I want to talk about the settlement with Columbia University and how Columbia sold out. I think it's an important story to talk about. Donald Trump was at the Federal Reserve building and made a fool of himself. And Jerome Powell fact-checked Donald Trump to his face. You have the FCC commissioner out there. Yes, we'll talk about South Park as well in that episode. Then you have the FCC commissioner Carr out there saying, yeah, we pretty much admitting, yeah, we went after Colbert and all these comics that we don't like that. Like that's just what we do now at the FCC. Let's take a quick break. A reminder: patreon.com/MeidasTouch. On Monday after the show, assuming I don't need another root canal, we will have our meeting. If you wanted to ever ask us questions, ask us anything. We're going to post a link on Patreon so you can set a calendar alert for yourself. Also, if you want to become a member of our YouTube channel, that's great. Gift memberships to others. We'll be right back after our last quick break of the show.
Staying well groomed takes the most reliable of hair and grooming tools. Harry's is our trusted partner for making a good first impression. Get the best quality razors delivered right to your door for a fraction of the price of the big brands. Better designed shaving products at a better price. It's Harry's. And right now you can get a $10 trial set for just $8 plus a free gift at harrys.com/Meidas, an exclusive offer just for our listeners. Now, I've been loving my Harry's razors from the second it was delivered. Their packaging was sleek, and the weighted handle of the razor, it gives it this classic and timeless feel. The shave is perfect. No cuts or scrapes, just a great shave. Harry's also sells this lotion. Smells amazing. I can't recommend that enough either. Harry's is made with German engineered blades made in their factory that stay sharp longer. They have customizable delivery options for scheduled refills as low as $2, half of what you pay for other big brands. Get a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and a travel cover for just $8 plus a free gift at harrys.com/Meidas. Also, Harry's has the highest customer satisfaction in the shaving industry, and their convenient subscription option means that you can cancel at any time. Show everyone you mean business. Get Harry's. Normally, their trial set is $10, but right now you can get it for just $8 plus a free gift at harrys.com/Meidas. That's our exclusive link, harrys.com/Meidas, for an $8 trial set and a free gift. If you're a homeowner, you need to listen to this. In today's AI and cyber world, scammers are stealing home titles and your equity is the target. Here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on one document, use a fake notary stamp, pay a small fee with your county, and just like that, your home title has been transferred out of your name. Then they take out loans using your equity or even sell your property, and you won't even know it's happened until you get a collection or foreclosure notice. So when's the last time you checked your home title? If your answer is never, you need to do something about it right now. That's why I've partnered with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim. Use my promo code Meidas at HometitleLock.com and you'll get a free title history report and a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts to any changes, and if fraud does happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. Find out why I trust Home Title Lock. Protect yourself like I did and don't be a victim. Protect your equity today. Go to HometitleLock.com and use promo code Meidas. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code Meidas.
So you ever wake up and feel like your body just hit the snooze button on life? Yeah, same. Honestly, aging sneaks up on you in some wild ways. Whether it's a night out or a good workout, I just don't bounce back the way that I used to. One day you're full of energy, the next you're Googling how to stretch without pulling a muscle. I believe one of the best aging breakthroughs of the last decade is Qualia Senolytic, and here's why. It's designed to help your body naturally eliminate something called senescent cells, also known as zombie cells. These are the ones that just hang around after they've stopped doing their job, draining your energy and making you feel, well, old. Think joint discomfort, sluggish recovery, low energy, the whole deal. Qualia Senolytic is a groundbreaking supplement made with 9 plant-based nutrients, and you only take it 2 days a month. That's it. Since I started taking it, I felt more energized, quicker to recover from workouts, and honestly, just more like me again. Plus, Qualia's breakthrough formulation is vegan, non-GMO, and tested by leading scientists. Experience the science of feeling younger. Go to qualialife.com/Meidas for up to 50% off your purchase and use code Meidas for an additional 15%. That's QUALIA life.com/Meidas, MEIDAS, for that extra 15% off. Your older self will thank you. And thanks to Qualia for sponsoring this episode.
Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Benji, where to next?
Let's break down a lot of topics in kind of a lightning round, if you will. So the Trump regime has taken over Columbia University, making Columbia pay to the Trump regime over $200 million. We're not really sure where that money is going, but that's part of a settlement. Now the Trump regime controls essentially all aspects of Columbia, from admissions to the faculty perspectives, to the political viewpoints of students, to the types of research that's going to be done. Frankly, I don't know who the hell would ever want to go to Columbia University right now, knowing that it's controlled by MAGA and everything you do will be under the hands of Donald Trump. But you know, one of the ways that the Trump regime attacked Columbia was saying that Columbia supports anti-Semitism and they're anti-Semitic. But what they were really after was what they consider to be academics and left-leaning thought and professors that they didn't like. They wanted MAGA ideology, the stupid crap. Windmills don't work. Real. January 6th wasn't real. Donald Trump is, you know, their godlike hero, and, you know, and all their stupid MAGA lore versus data and facts. So Linda McMahon, whose WWE was also had lots of lawsuits for covering up sexual abuse. She's now the Department of Education secretary, and they're mostly destroying all education other than trying to capture what it can for the Trump regime. And here she basically just gives away the game and basically says, yeah, we don't like that woke thought over there. We don't like woke thinking and lefties, so we take over the university. Here, play the clip.
And I think that this is a monumental victory for conservatives who've wanted to do things on these elite campuses for a long time, because we had such far left-leaning, professors, and we had 27% of the students that are coming in, are from outside of the United States. I think that's one of Harvard's stats. And so Columbia is clearly on board. I'm really pleased with this victory. It wouldn't have happened if Donald Trump were not president, and I'm really pleased to execute his vision for this, that our campuses are now, they're what they should be. They're places for debate. They're places.
Oh, really? It's Donald Trump ideology at Columbia for real. I don't know who the hell would want to go to Columbia, and they just put a stain on anyone's Columbia university. I'd be pissed if I was an alumnus of that university after that. That's for sure. But, they had this like interim president who was like kind of like a Trump puppet who sold them out. Listen to what she says here. It's so utterly pathetic. Watch what capitulation looks like. Pathetic. Play this clip.
This is really access to billions.
It was a lot more than that.
Billions of dollars in future funding. And it's not just money for Columbia. I mean, this is about science. It's about curing cancer, cutting edge, boundary breaking science that actually benefits the country and humanity. So that was essential.
How existential was the threat becoming? When you talk about, I saw over like $1.3 billion that the school was not losing.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How existential was this threat to the university if it continued?
There are lots of ways to measure it. So $1.3 billion a year, billions in future funding. But we are a massive research institution, one of the best in the world. It's hard. We'd have to sit here for hours for me to tell you everything we do in terms of that boundary breaking research. And that's research really that powers the technology in this country, innovation, and of course, all.
Don't make it about other people. Don't weaponize, I do work for other people, because you ain't going to do crap with the Trump regime taking over. You ain't going to do innovative cancer research. We know Trump has stopped cancer research. So anything your research institutions did before, they're going to be rendered ineffective right now. So don't give me that crap. Like, I know that's what your PR person told you. Go on and said this wasn't about the university. Make it about the country. That's what she was coached to say. But don't gaslight us like that. You are a pathetic individual, and your entire life is a disgrace.
Honestly, screw these people. Honestly, screw these people. And how dare they weaponize anti-Semitism, which is a real serious thing, in order to push forward their agenda. And this regime, that is stocked, by the way, with many people who are outright white nationalists or Nazis. Okay, those are the people you are protecting when you capitulate to them. And it is not anti-Semitic to be opposed to the Netanyahu government. It is not anti-Semitic to be opposed to what is happening in Gaza. I think people should be speaking out against the atrocities that we are seeing, and protesting that does not make you anti-Semitic. And folding to this Trump regime over those issues because they are threatening you and they are weaponizing that term, that very serious term, against you, I think it is absolutely a disgrace, especially as the same regime, the Trump regime, is posting things on the internet like this. I feel like this is something that probably a lot of people out there aren't really in tune with, because they're probably not on the social media platforms following this administration the way we are. But for example, this was a post that was just made recently by the Department of Homeland Security, an official post. And this is a post that they put up. And this is something that they've been doing now kind of frequently. This isn't the first time. They will post this artwork and they'll use code words and talk about heritage. We need to protect our heritage, our heritage, our heritage. And they'll use this artwork that looks kind of like classical artwork. Oftentimes the artists end up coming out and going, how dare you use my artwork to push these messages? But this is the latest one. And what people noticed when they looked at this message, it's like an angel flying up in the sky over like the frontier. And it says, a heritage to be proud of, a homeland worth defending, American progress, John Gast. What a lot of people noticed about the way that they wrote that caption is that the caption was exactly 14 words. What is the significance of 14 words? 14 words is a reference to the 14 words, which is a popular white supremacist Nazi slogan about securing the existence of white people in the world. That is what the 14 word significance is. And so you could say, oh, well, that's probably just a coincidence, right? No, they do this frequently. They do this frequently, and they word their things that they almost like sound like haikus the way that they word them, because they fit them into this 14-word formula. Like I said, this is not the first time, and people have been noticing the patterns. But that's not all, even with this one image. What letters did they capitalize in this post? They capitalized the letter H in heritage and the letter H in homeland. And a lot of people are saying that's because these same white nationalists, these same Nazis, capitalized two H's next to each other to symbolize Hail Hitler. So these are the people running the government accounts. Like I said, it'd be one thing if this was the only time this has happened. It's not. This is at least the third, fourth, or fifth time that this has happened from these official government accounts speaking about the same sorts of topics. So don't give me that anti-Semitism crap and weaponize that when these are the people in your administration, when these are the kinds of posts that you are making, when these are the kinds of people whom you are empowering. It is absolutely a disgrace, and it's meant for one thing and one thing only, to silence dissent. And that's what authoritarians do. And I will not let this government be taken over by authoritarians by weaponizing anti-Semitism to do so. It's absolutely outrageous.
And it's certainly not, as you mentioned, anti-Semitic to criticize what Benjamin Netanyahu is doing. I think it is absolutely horrible what Netanyahu is doing. And you don't have to be supportive of like Likud and Netanyahu. And by the way, there are actually a lot of people in Israel who do not support Benjamin Netanyahu. And what he and his government have been doing in Gaza is an absolute travesty. Absolutely go after Hamas, but what has taken place there is frankly unforgivable. It is so tragic to see innocent people dying, kids and women and people there. And you can have basic humanity and speak out against atrocities that are happening there and watching people starve to death. And that does not make you anti-Semitic at all. You can criticize Netanyahu. You can criticize that regime. And let me be very, that's not anti-Semitic. And so I hate when they try to weaponize that and bring Netanyahu and he's like, well, Donald, I'm going to recommend for you that you get the Nobel Peace Prize. And really, Netanyahu and Trump getting the Nobel Peace Prize, what they are doing to the world is creating massive instability. You know, there are countries around the world, from Canada to Europe and elsewhere, that put out a statement saying that there needs to be humanitarian aid immediately brought into Gaza, that's calling out what Netanyahu is doing. And the United States, once again, is one of the only countries that don't sign on to that. And that barely got any attention at all. So I wanted to to bring that up right here. Also, what's not getting a lot of attention, which should, is that there's basically a war taking place between Thailand and Cambodia. You had Thailand's fighter jets striking in Cambodia, Cambodia missiles hitting Thailand, both sides accusing each other of starting this first. 11 civilians have died. And again, we just don't see engagement from our State Department. We don't see statements about Donald from Trump like you would normally see a president go and say things about this. But Donald Trump's too busy, and South Park capture this perfectly. You know, he shows up and he's lovers with Satan in the episode. And Donald Trump comes back and he's like, hey, Satan, can we like, and he wants to have sex with Satan. And Satan is like, I've been working so hard. And Satan's like, no, you haven't. You've just been posting memes all day. Like, what are you, you're not working and you're trying to cover up the Epstein files. Like, come on, Satan. You know, and it was such a, we needed a cultural moment like it. And they did this AI of Donald Trump, like walking around, like Donald Trump walks through the desert with his tiny penis for everything. He's doing it for you. And
I got to say, this was seriously, honestly, maybe one of the most important cultural moments that have occurred on TV during any Trump administration, for sure this Trump administration, because people have been so afraid to go after him for fear of retribution. But I think this week we actually saw a lot happen in that kind of cultural front. This South Park episode was vicious. It was brutal as brutal could be, but it was spot on. It was the perfect satirical takedown of what we are witnessing, of how Donald Trump has been betraying his base and how he has been screwing over the country. And I hope everybody has a chance to watch it. And it's sure to enrage Donald Trump. I know they were saying the White House was furious about this episode. It was absolutely brilliant. And we saw other people speaking out this week as well, you know, in light of the Colbert cancellation. We saw Colbert speaking out after that. We saw Jon Stewart deliver an incredible monologue about that. That's what we need right now. Folks who are unafraid to stand up to this regime. Folks who are unafraid to cut through the bullshit with the truth. Oftentimes that ends up being the comedians and the satirists. But this was such a, honestly, just a terrific moment last night. I was cracking up.
Such a throwback South Park episode too. Like I felt like it was like one of the first couple seasons of South Park I was watching. It's like, oh yeah, they're cutting deep. This is some A+.
I just hadn't seen anything like that in a while, you know, because all these networks, all these universities, a lot of these law firms, like they've been so pathetic and they've capitulated every single step of the way. And they've normalized that capitulation. And all of these brands want to play it safe. They are so afraid. They are so afraid of speaking out for fear that they'll lose their merger. By the way, the FCC ended up approving the Skydance Paramount merger, but they're so afraid of things like that falling apart, of Donald Trump wielding the executive branch to take away funding from universities and everything else, that they just cower. They just back away. But as we've said on this show, you need to stand up to the bully. And I think it was a very, actually an important moment to see that on South Park, a show that goes after all sides, I think in a very unbiased way. To go after Donald Trump the way they did, I think it shows that the winds of culture are quickly shifting and have shifted away from Donald Trump in a way that I think is very pivotal at this moment.
Look at the FCC chair, Brendan Carr, went on Fox. He's asked a very simple question that a non-fascist regime should answer very easily. Did President Trump have anything to do with the cancellation of Colbert's show, right? Did the president force a network to cancel a comedian show, right? The answer should be no. He had nothing to do with it. You move on to the next question, right? That's what you should say. But because the United States is now under a dictator, under a fascist regime, under a sexual abuser, under a felon, under a bankrupter, under a vile piece of trash, here's the response.
Thanks. Good to be with you.
Let's just go ahead and get it out of the way. Did President Trump have anything to do with the cancellation of Stephen Colbert's show?
Well, here's what's important to keep in mind is a broader dynamic. When President Trump ran for election, he ran right at these legacy broadcast media outfits and the New York and Hollywood elites that are behind it, and he smashed the facade that these are gatekeepers that can control what Americans think and what Americans can say. And once you do that, you've exposed the business model of a lot of these outfits as being nothing more than a partisan circus. And so I think there's a lot of consequences that are flowing from President Trump deciding, I'm not going to play by the rules of politicians in the past and let these legacy outfits dictate the narratives in the terms of the debate. And he's succeeding. Just look at what's happening. NPR has been defunded. PBS has been defunded. Colbert is getting cancer. You've got anchors and news media personalities losing their jobs. Again, all of this is downstream of President
lunatics, fascist lunatics. I showed you Linda McMahon attacking the universities. I show you Brendan Carr going after the networks. This is what Project 2025 is all about. This is what fascism is. This is what it is. I'm not using hyperbolic language. These are vile, despicable human beings. These are trash human beings. These are people who would fit nicely in Hitler's regime, in my opinion. These are scumbags. Let's not mince words of who these people are and what they are doing. Going after the comics, going after the academics, going after the immigrants, going after anybody who who's not sycophantic and please let me be MAGA, let me be like MAGA Mike Johnson. And if you don't stand up to these idiots, they're coming for you. It's just the reality of what it is. Let me just show you this. Donald Trump is trying to get the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, fired. And one of the ways Donald Trump is doing this is by attacking the Federal Reserve's construction project of a new building. And so that's one of the kind of pretexts that Donald Trump's using to try to get the guy fired. So Trump literally shows up at the Federal Reserve building, puts on a hard hat to try to bully Jerome Powell. And Jerome Powell stands up to him and looks at him what are you talking about? And Trump tries to give all of these figures that are all all these stats are just lies. Trump's making up numbers. And Powell's nope, that's not true. Nope, not true. And Trump's yes, it is. No, you're just making up numbers. Here, watch this.
Yeah. So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about 3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
Our notes had it about 3.1 as well.
3.1,
3.2. This came from us?
Yes. I don't know who does that.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added
our entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building. Is what that is. That's a third building.
Well, no, but it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
But it's not new.
So we're going.
And that's the thing. Trump just makes up stuff. Everything out of the guy's mouth is a lie. We have $17 trillion that I've brought into the country. Literally. You just made up the number $17 trillion. It just makes up.
Are you saying Trump is the kind of guy who inflates numbers for his benefit?
Maybe a guy who was found civilly liable for a lawsuit about valuations, and then was found criminally liable also for business records fraud. So sounds
and then of course the whole irony of this all too is they've also tried to investigate. Okay, so what made the renovation of the Fed more expensive than it was initially set for? And it turns out it was Trump appointees who were pushing for more expensive materials back in his last term that made this even more expensive than it is. So Trump appointees, the Trump administration, they caused this to cost more than it was originally going to cost. And now they are using the higher cost as predicate to attack Jerome Powell. And they are the same way with the Obama thing. This is how they're weaponizing the Justice Department in this very Kremlin-esque way. They are referring Jerome Powell for criminal charges, like Anna Paulina Luna did, referring him for criminal charges to try to scare him so that he drops out because Trump is unable to fire him and he's too afraid to actually go through with that move. And so they're trying to get him out by threats. I mean, this is just a mobster. We're watching a mobster at work. There's another clip. We don't have to play it. But, they asked Trump, what do you want? And Trump's like, just want this guy to lower the rates. And then he like slaps Powell on the back. Like, it's very clear the message that he is trying to send. But, you know, I got to say, good on Jerome Powell for ensuring that the Federal Reserve remains independent. It's so important. I know, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who want lower interest rates. I totally get it. The issue is Donald Trump has sent the economy both here and globally into such a spiral, into such instability, that doing so at this moment would be irresponsible because it would tank the economy and cause mass inflation. The cracks in the economy are more than just cracks right now. We are seeing it. I don't need to go through all the data right now. Ben went through it in a recent hot take. But what Trump has already done to the economy is devastating. The effects it's having on businesses, their bottom lines, is already devastating. And he wants to take the independence out of the Fed, which quite frankly is probably the one thing right now holding all of this together. It is so dangerous. Good on Fed Chair Powell for standing up to him like that.
I absolutely. If you're an audio listener only of the show, I need you to check out the video version of this podcast and watch that video. That's one of the greatest videos I think I've ever seen. Only because Jerome Powell's reaction in the moment is so perfect. And it's actually how you need to treat the guy. Like he's an idiot. You know why? Because he's an idiot. And so Jerome Powell's like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? Like, what are you even saying right now? And then boom, backs it up with facts. Then Trump takes out this goofy paper, starts pointing. He's like, literally stop. What are you saying? All while these cameras are there. And you just see the sheer embarrassment come over Trump's face. I mean, good on Powell.
It's worse than stupidity. It's a deliberate con. He's a con man, and he's trying to pull a con on the people. So he waves around papers. You know, we've seen him wave around papers plenty of times, right? Yeah, I got the papers here. It's 3.1 billion. Look, it's very expensive. How did it move up to 3 billion? Because Trump changed his number. Initially, it was 2.5 billion. Now it's 3.1 billion. He's waving papers. Look, I got proof. Look, I got proof. And then Jerome Powell goes, okay, give me those papers. What are you talking about? That's not true. And he looks at him and he goes, oh, you're adding on other buildings that aren't even related. Like, how does that make any sense? And he caught Donald Trump in the con live on TV. It was actually a very impressive maneuver.
All right, we're doing a Jerome Powell emoji to piss off Donald Trump, everybody. So bye. I saw
read a Jerome Powell emoji.
Okay. Jordy, did I read your facial gesture to me that's what you wanted? And you were.
That's exactly what I wanted. Absolutely. Need the Jerome Powell emoji. People are calling for it.
I don't know. We got to see people want the Jerome Powell emoji.
You don't think they want the Jerome Powell emoji?
I've seen folks in the chat are saying they want the emoji. 50 memberships, we drop the emoji right now.
50 memberships is
Jordy, we're signing off the show now. So.
All right. Well, Jordy says 50. I say 500. If you do a blended in the middle, we'll randomly. I guess it is weird to throw out a Jerome Powell emoji, but
folks want it. I'm reading the comments literally right now. They want the
emoji. We'll decide next episode.
So do that. I should mention this though. What was happening at the State Department while there was war between Thailand and Cambodia. Of course, Laura Loomer, 9/11 conspiracy theorist, all around kind of crazy person. She was there today. You see her saying productive afternoon of meetings at the State Department. I just want you to think about that. Donald Trump fired 1,500 people basically at the State Department. They got rid of their sex trafficking division that would bust international sex trafficking rings at the State Department. But folks, Laura Loomer is partying in the State Department. Now, I don't think you have to be Democrat, Republican, red, blue, whatever. To me, this comes down to good versus evil at this point. And what's taking place right now is a test of good versus evil. What side do you stand on? What legacy do you want to have for your existence on this planet? What type of world do you want to leave to future generations? And I'll tell you the one that I want to leave. I want to leave one where we stand up to this fascist regime, we defeat them, and we restore sanity, normalcy, decency, empathy, compassion, and democracy to this great country, and we support peace throughout the world. I'll leave it at that. Thank you, everybody, for watching this episode. Subscribe, patreon.com/MeidasTouch on Monday. Catch us on Monday. We will, after the show, have our Patreon meeting, assuming I don't need another root canal, which I don't think I will. I think I'm all right. But thank you, everybody, for watching. Brett and Jordy, one more time. Y'all did incredible without me on Monday. Jordy, take us away. Shout out to the Meidas Mighty!
Standing strong.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.